Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from BBC News. It's from their technology section. It was published on June 8th. I haven't found an author to this anywhere in the article, so it's probably written by a staff writer. Copyright law could put an end to net memes. Now, like Dave Cullen, I'm surprised that the BBC is covering Article 13. I really am. The thing is their slant is kind of a joke. See, the situation with Article 13 is that the EU wants to dictate to, we'll just say, even though they've become global companies, American companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter and Microsoft, and have them be the gatekeepers to the internet. This is what it amounts to. Because the only way that what they want will happen is if it's done through using algorithms. And they're claiming this is all in the guise of protecting copyright. But what it comes down to is the main focus and the main targets to what they're doing is the independent media. Because they can't control the narrative. They can't handle what's going on. They're losing on the information war. They're losing on the ideology war. And their only option is to try to crack down and use the bullshit excuse of this being about copyright. And as an American, with what they're trying to do, it affects me. This will end up affecting the world. Just because some unelected bureaucrats in the EU who have their positions not through the will of the people want to control shit. This is what it comes down to. Memes, remixes, and other user-generated content could disappear online if the EU's proposed rules on copyright become law, warn experts. Now, see, they don't even go into one thing, before we actually get in this article, they don't even go into one thing that they should really be talking about, which is the link tax. But if they did, then they'd have to talk about how the alternative media, the independent media, goes and provides critique and commentary, counter, I don't want to say facts, but they provide facts counter to. Okay, there we go. They provide facts counter to their narratives, and then they link these articles. With the link tax, they won't be able to do that. They won't be able to do what they've made into a career. It'll put the alternative media out of business. Digital right groups are campaigning against the copyright directive, which the European Parliament will vote on later this month. The legislation aims to protect rights holders in the internet age. Complete bullshit. This is complete bullshit. This is about destroying fair use. Besides the fact of the alternative media being the primary focus of this, which at least that's my opinion. This is also about destroying fair use so that you can't be creative and produce a derivative work. They don't, which also goes with the whole fact of the alternative media, but it allows for them to win in other arenas as well. But critics say it misunderstands the way people engage with web content and risks excessive censorship. Well, there shouldn't be any censorship. Period. All right? The internet should be an environment where there's nothing like that going on. It should be about free speech. Plain and simple. The copyright directive is an attempt to reshape copyright for the internet. In particular, this part I loved. In particular, rebalancing the relationship between copyright holders and online platforms. Because this is Orwellian newspeak. This is seriously like right out of the book, right out of the book 1984. Because right now, online platforms have no power. They're independent. They're an intermediary. When it comes to copyright and the internet and this rebalancing of a relationship, it has nothing to do with them. It's all about the legacy media and the alternative media, because those are the only two people or two groups that are involved in this. Because in theory, and it's why they've got, immunity if they're a quote-unquote impartial platform, say in the United States, which Ted Cruz had brought up when talking to the representatives of Facebook and Google and Twitter. They're also granted that through the DMCA on the note of copyright. It's the same with the UK's counterpart to that. It's the same thing with the EU's counterpart to the DMCA as well. What you have is a situation where they have no liability. As long as they follow the equivalent to the DMCA in that particular country, that they're protected. So, with that being the case, there's no need to rebalance this unless they're talking about forcing these companies to do the bidding of the legacy media. Because if you want to talk about a rebalancing of the relationship with, say, people like me, other content creators and these legacy media outlets, they don't like the fact of fair use because they feel that they should have control over all content. Either way you look at it, that's how it is. Article 13 states that platform providers should take measures to ensure the functioning of agreements concluded with rights holders for the use of their works. Well, slight problem. There's this legal precedence called fair use. It's not only a thing in the United States, it's a thing throughout the EU. It's something that you're trying to get rid of, and you're trying to get rid of even in the United States, that you're trying to get rid of in Australia, that you're trying to get rid of in Eastern Europe, that you're trying to get rid of in all these other countries that you have absolutely no jurisdiction over, being that they're not part of the EU. This is ridiculous. This shit is really ridiculous. Critics say this will, in effect, require all internet platforms to filter all content put online by users, which many believe would be an excessive restriction on free speech. Oh, you think? You really think? Because when you're literally taking away the right to fair use, which then gets rid of commentary, critiquing, reporting on news stories, all this stuff, that's an understatement. That is truly an understatement. There is also a concern that the proposals will rely on algorithms that will be programmed to play safe and delete anything that creates a risk for the platform. Which is exactly what they want. They want these platforms to do what they don't want to do because they can wash their hands of it. See, this is the whole thing. They're trying to force these platforms to comply, in part to cover their asses. Because if they were to go and put up their own versions or an EU version of the Internet Great Wall of Internet Firewall of China, so we'll say the Internet Firewall of the EU, if they were to do their own version of it to block Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google and all these other sites that might be in their sites beyond those big ones, they do that, the people are going to be up in arms. This will not fly if they were to do that. If they are to do that. The only way they can get this to fly is if they force the companies to do this. Because they can go, well, we're not restricting the internet. Oh, no. And they can play stupid. And it's big bad Google's fault. It's big bad Facebook's fault. It's big bad Twitter's fault. It's not ours. I mean, that's part of the reason why they want to do this. Besides the fact of if they get them to do it, they're now enforcing this around the world because odds are companies like Microsoft and Facebook and Twitter and Google, to make things easier on themselves, and they're going to treat it like it's no skin off their nose, they're going to turn around, and what they're going to do is they're just going to enact this globally as opposed to regionally. And these unelected bureaucratic shitbags in the EU know this too. They're not stupid. A campaign against Article 13, Copyright for Creativity, said that the proposals could destroy the internet as we know it. Should Article 13 of the Copyright Directive be adopted, it will impose widespread censorship of all the content you share online, it said. Now, that's an understatement. I mean, as you can see, I'm pointing out how much of a situation it will be on that note of censorship. It will be beyond this, because I mean that's kind of like playing it down. What they should be saying is look, this is going to force all these companies to do this. Okay, this is how they get off, so that you don't blame them. If they laid this all out like that, I think more people would pay attention. It is urging users to write their MEPs ahead of the vote on 20 June. Okay, good. Jim Killock, executive director of the UK's Open Rights Group, told the BBC, Article 13 will create a robo-copyright regime where machines zap anything they identify as breaking copyright rules, despite legal bans on laws that require general monitoring of users to protect their privacy. Now, what I don't understand is there is fair use in the UK. There is fair use in the United States. There is fair use throughout, because the UK is, Brexit-wise, but if we ever see that happen, technically not part of the EU. But if we talk about the EU itself, pretty much every country there has fair use doctrine. The EU itself has fair use. So you're also going to contradict all these nations' laws on fair use on the note of the EU. All these nations that are not part of the EU, as in all the ones globally, you're going to violate their fair use laws. Oh, God. I mean, this is... You're going to do all these things. And you honestly think you unelected shitbags can get away with this? Well, you know what? Fuck you. I'm in the United States. You want to try to silence me? You want to try to tax links that I put for sources when I do? You want to do shit like that? Try me. You can't get blood from a stone. What are you gonna try to come after me in court here in the US? You're gonna try to extradite me? Fuck off. That's how I see this. And not everyone has that luxury. But I'm not gonna have them shut me up. But I mean, if you look with this robo-copyright regime, it's literally going to be violating, beyond the privacy of users. It's going to be violating, laws through, like I was just saying, throughout the world. It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, while machines can spot duplicate uploads of Beyonce songs, they can't spot parodies, understand memes that use copyright images, or make any kind of cultural judgment about what creative people are doing. We see this all too often on YouTube already. Yeah, well, you do, but the copyright system on YouTube is better than what they'll have. It's better than, it's broken, but it is better than what that will create. Because at least in theory, there is the ability for a creator to, respond to allegations of copyright infringement. Just saying. Add that the EU wants to apply the Robocop approach to extremism, hate speech, and anything else that they can get away with. Once they put it in place for copyright, this would be disastrous. Of course, that's another thing. This is just them getting their foot in the door. That's all it is. Because they get this in for copyright. They've already got the infrastructure there to go after speech, to go after anything that they want on the note of digital content. That's the whole point of this. The Electronic Frontier Foundation and 56 other rights organizations sent an open letter to the European lawmakers in October outlining their concerns about Article 13. I think it should say unelected bureaucrats instead of lawmakers, but whatever. Article 13 appears to provoke such legal uncertainty that online services will have no other option than to monitor, filter, and block EU citizens' communications if they are to have any chance of staying in business, it read. Well, in all honesty, it's going to go beyond that. Because, as I was saying, they're going to go to the point of where they're doing the filter and the blocking and all that for anyone and everyone. Because the EU will bitch and whine and go, oh, they got VPNs. You know, that'll be their excuse. Watch, they'll bring up that on trying to get them to enforce this, say, corporate-wide, if they actually have the balls to openly do it. But I think that Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, you know, anything Alphabet actually, so, you know, YouTube obviously, besides Google. I honestly think that they're going to more than willingly comply with this. It's the only thing that would make sense. They aren't about to probably, you know, odds are that they're not about to go against this. When Google in the US will push, when you put in American inventors, and it gives you the diversity rainbow full of people you've never heard of, and leaves out Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, so on and so forth, they'll have no problems complying with this. Because it'll go along with what they want. Because it'll allow for them to censor the alternative media. Which Google and YouTube as an extension, they're going to turn around and use this to their advantage. Because they don't like the alternative media. They want to become the legacy media on the note of provide TV and things of that nature. So I can see them willingly just going along with this. But anyway, I think I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.